Okay folks, this is going to be a quick video on some of the terms that are introduced in that video that you just watched. Just to clear up a few things. So the first thing we need to talk about is in that video we were talking about relief printmaking, and we've actually done a lot of this type of printing anyway. And relief printing is well, we've been doing lino, and anything that's in relief means it's standing above something else. So on our matrix or our lino block that we were carving, if we grab our tool and we carve a line on the actual lino, if we were to take an end view of that line, it would look like this. And you can see that if we run our brayer or our ink roller over this line, where the line is, the ink doesn't go. Anything that's in relief has ink on it. So basically the thing with relief printmaking to remember is that we have no ink in the line that we've cut. So that's pretty simple. So if we were to print this line, it would be all black, and except for that line that we cut, the rest of this would be black. Okay, I should use a fill tool, but I can't be bothered. So you can see here, that's how relief printmaking works. And they talked about two different types of, three different types. We got lino cutting and we got wood cutting. And then they talked about wood engraving. So if I take a plank of wood, and if I take a plank of wood, the grain normally runs this way on the plank of wood. We've all seen what a plank of wood looks like. And if we cut this plank of wood, that is called a wood cut. So we would take our tool and we would cut lines into our wood going across the grain, and that's called a wood cut. Now the other type of cut relief print they were talking about was a wood engraving, which is a lot finer. It used to be used for book illustration. So if I take myself a log of wood, if we've got a log, if we cut the log this way, take a slice out of the log, so we're cutting across the log this way, that gives us a plank of wood. That's for a wood cut. But if we take the same log and we cut it like we're cutting a loaf of bread, so we're cutting slices out of it, what we end up with is end grain. Okay, so we've got the little rings in the end of the tree and we've got the end grain. And the end grain is very, very fine. So it won't split when you cut it. So if we're going to end grain, the end grain, that is a wood engraving. And it allows finer detail. So that's the difference between a wood cut and a wood engraving. A wood cut, we take just a normal plank of wood, and a wood engraving, we go to end grain. Okay, so that's a little bit of an explanation of those two terms if you were a little bit confused about them. But they are all types of relief printmaking. And the other type of printing that we were talking about in this actual video was Intaglio. And Intaglio printmaking is just an Italian word for can't spell. Intaglio is just an Italian word for engrave. So it's essentially the same process as when we do a relief print. So we get our matrix, which might be copper, a sheet of copper, or zinc, and you either cover it in a ground that resists acid and scratch it, or you can actually just engrave the metal. So if I got a burin, which is a type of tool for engraving metal, which essentially looks very similar to a lino cutting tool, but it's finer. And if we look at the end view, same thing happens you get a line cut. But the only difference is instead of the ink sitting on the bits that are in relief, what happens is we cover the whole thing with ink, and then we wipe the ink off, and we end up with ink inside the line. Okay, so main thing you got to take away from this is relief, no ink in the cut, and Intaglio, ink in the cut line. And we put wet paper over this, and when we run it through the press, because you need a lot of pressure to get that ink to come out to make a line. So in Intaglio you also need an etching press to actually make it happen. But that's the two differences. Anyway, I hope that clears up a little bit. If you've got any questions, by all means, email me and I will explain it even better. And now all we need to do is do the handout. Bye.